Hello and welcome to the third episode of Fictional Type. Today we'll be typing Kermit the Frog from the Muppets movie, series, and franchise. He is typed on Personality Database in the MBTI system as INFP by the letter dichotomies and by the functions as well. So in order to get an idea of what type he really is in the objective personality system, we'll be using Opdex, and we'll be watching a few YouTube videos in order to better understand his personality in the source material. So the first thing I want to show you is the Rainbow Connection song, which is sung by Kermit the Frog at the beginning of the Muppets movie, where he discusses his life's purpose and his dreams for the future, and he gives a few hints as to what his savior functions might be. Let's take a listen.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows? And what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. And rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
As you can see, in the beginning of this song, Kermit is stating that many members of the tribe do not appreciate the idea of rainbows and the idea of chasing one's dream into the future, which he instead rejects and sees, and instead chooses to accept his own life purpose as being to follow the vision of the rainbow that he sees as valuable to himself. He is ultimately going against the tribe, which makes me think he's identity over tribe identity. He's self above tribe. For his feelings, for his values, for his vision for the future, which also makes me think he has probably savior feelings so far. So far I'm going to say he definitely has an NF hippie-ish vibe, but I think it's too early to conclude, so we'll keep watching and see if the pattern repeats.
Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic.
From this next part of the song, it becomes more obvious that Kermit is intentionally rejecting the ST, what is physically working in reality, for this NF vision of something beautiful and valuable to him that he sees as being accessible to him in his future. More specifically, Kermit is asking what exactly keeps people dreaming and keeps people doing the NF, valuing the abstract. He then states somewhat indirectly that there's really no ST reason, any good reason in the physical, to follow or believe in these NF values. However, he then states that he's willing to follow the NF values, the valuable concepts, anyway, simply because he finds that they have had good results and that they are valuable to him. This is the same general pattern as seen in the beginning of the song, where he emphasizes and believes in the power he sees in rainbows and visions, despite the fact that the tribe thinks that they don't actually work, or that there is no reason to believe in them in the physical. This leads me to conclude that he is likely, again, an IP, since he's always stating how the tribe doesn't exactly agree with him and thinks that his NF values don't work. And he's talking about how somebody invented that, someone made that up, and then someone else believed that, and that it was valuable to believe it by himself and go against the tribe because it doesn't make sense to the tribe, which again leads me to believe he is lead FI. I'm also going to conclude at this point that he is Savior Intuition. He is NF. Again, NE versus NI. I can't quite yet conclude. I think we've gotten enough we can from this next clip, so we'll watch the rest now.
Have you been half asleep? And have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
Finally, at the conclusion of the Rainbow Connection, Kermit discusses the idea of hearing voices in a somewhat transcendental state that are calling his name towards some fate that he would like to see or reach. This certainly implies that this is certainly a very NF thing to say, and it definitely seems like Kermit is valuing something in the abstract that doesn't really have any reasons to it in the physical, which again leads me to conclude that he is NF. We still don't really have much else here. I'm going to bet, just based on how he's acting here, that he is gather and not organize. He wants to go out and see the world for himself and find the Rainbow Connection. He's not acting like he's trying to preserve the Rainbow Connection or build some Rainbow Connection structure. He's going out and looking and searching through every nook and cranny to find what he's looking for. And what I see is a lot of the OI people kind of believe, a lot of those with Savior OI kind of see that they're kind of trying to build the answer or narrow things down to find the answer. But then those with Savior OE tend to want to search everywhere and look under every stone to find the answer outside of them. Once again, those with Savior OI are trying to go over the known information and build up something with meaning, like Humura Akemi is trying to build a future, a conceptual future for herself, based on her own personal patterns, which reoccur throughout her life. But it seems like Kermit is looking more for new abstract things that he can value, and he's looking to find, in reality, some manifestation of these voices that are calling him. Also, the way in which he likens the idea of the sirens, which in Greek mythology, which is what he meant, just to clarify, by well, actually, there are two possibilities. There are two things I see. Either he's referring to some kind of voice that calls sailors to the sea, or what's more likely, and based on factual interpretation by others, he's referring to the sirens of Greek mythology. In that case, he's describing in a very conceptual way, in a very intuitive way, a concept that is constructed by connecting two objects or occurrences that seem at first disparate, which makes me really think he's using some sort of or form of any, because it looks like he's really looking for these concepts, and then he's kind of narrowing them down and trimming them up into actual discrete physical sensory. So, I'm going to conclude he is FINE and INFP from this. Now we have the rest of the animals and the modalities to gather from him from the next few clips we'll be exploring together. Next, I'd like to show you a few clips from Sesame Street, where Kermit becomes angry and reveals, once again, that he is a decider, and that he is self above tribe. Just to reinforce the point that he is a decider who has trouble processing the reasons of the tribe.
A froggy has no ears and no nose, but he does have calmness. Yes, he never gets angry or yells.
Will you get out of here? Yes, sir.
Oh, but wait, Kermit, you're angry with me.
Yes, I'm angry.
But why?
Because you were supposed to stop at the 7th floor.
Why?
Well, because that's what elevator operators do. They're supposed to take people to whatever floor they want to go to in the building.
They are?
Yes, and I wanted to go to the 7th floor.
Oh, but...
Speaker, what is it with you guys from the lab? First Bunch and then now you. What are you guys trying to do to us?
Hey, Kermit,
What is it?
now you're shouting at yourself.
I don't want to buy a toothbrush. Why do you not I told you I don't want to. I've been trying to tell you all along I don't want to buy a toothbrush. I'm just trying to be a salesman. What? Offer you a product.
As you could probably see, Kermit is freaking out at the tribe here for not conforming with and suiting and attempting to fulfill his own needs. This implies that he has trouble processing the tribe and understanding why they do the things they do in the ways they do them, which again points to his being a single decider. It also seems like he has a little trouble processing things, as we saw in the chemistry clip, which could also lead to our conclusion that he is demon sensing. I haven't seen a confirmation of the SI-NE axis in the form of the demon SI, but again, I think it's safe to conclude, based on the evidence we have, that he is demon SI and Savior NE. Finally, we have one more clip that's going to help us straighten out the animal stack for Kermit the Frog, and we're going to determine basically the sleep and play point as well as the blast point from this piece.
Hey, Gary, Mary, how'd you guys get here so fast?
We traveled by map. We thought it'd be quicker.
Hey, I'm sorry I bailed. I realized you don't let the most important person in your world slip away.
Hey, Scooter,
Yeah?
could you do me a favor and take over hosting duty?
But, Chief, I don't go on stage.
Well, just do what I do. Pretend that the audience is naked.
Yeah, but I... Yeah,
Miss Piggy?
You are all naked. Well, sorta. Okay, great. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the real superhero.
You saved it? After all this time? Oh, Kermit.
I guess I'm not that good at saying this kind of stuff.
Yes, Kermit?
Well, over the last week, I realized that I miss you. And I need you. And maybe you don't need the whole world to love you. Maybe you just need one person. It's time for our song. And if we don't raise the money tonight, it might be the last time we sing together. And, well, are you ready?
Okay.
Firstly, I'd like to state that we very obviously saw Kermit use Demon SI in this, as he was trying to communicate a very specific, particular sensory point that he was able to glean from all of his experiences and his conceptualization of them. It also shows that he is very bad at blasting, and he is not very good at communicating his point in terms of tribe reasons. He has a very hard time articulating himself, which implies to me that he is blast last, which would imply that his animal stack would have to look like this. No. There we go. I can conclude he is sleep above play because he has no problem ditching the tribe suddenly and making someone else do his job for him in order to go resolve a personal issue, an SF issue, a problem in the physical that he values with his partner Piggy. Ultimately, the modalities are really hard to see. It seems like he is pushing this whole time from his FI, and that the whole point of the show, of the movie, of the very concept of the Muppets, is just Kermit pushing himself to achieve what he values, so I have to conclude masculine FI. This also makes sense because we see him being somewhat indirect and stuttery with the tribe when he's attempting to communicate any kind of point with them. Finally, as for the sensory, I cannot tell what kind of memory he has. I cannot tell what he's pushing from. I just don't think we have enough evidence to come to any good conclusions on this. However, I'm just going to very tentatively, very carefully conclude, just for the sake of going to 512, not that you should ever do this on a real person, that he's probably feminine sensory, just because I see him really kind of pushing from the conceptual. Of course, pushing from the conceptual can easily be interpreted as what I'm seeing as being MNE in the beginning, with the concept that's being very rigid to him, this idea of the rainbow connection that he keeps throughout the movie and series. It seems like it's something that is rigid and isn't going to change based on his SI routines in that moment. So that's why I'm concluding it's masculine. But I have a hard time seeing the specifics here in which he's being rigid about. So anyway, that's my official type for Kermit. FINE, double masculine on the saviors, which means he is double feminine on the actual modalities. It does match what Personality Database has, which means it's at least somewhat consistent with the general tribe consensus. Ultimately, I think we do have a type that's very close to Kermit's real type. I will concede the modalities on the observers might be the sensory modality might be off. The tribe self, I think, is right. I do think he is an INFP. I think he's a decider. I think he's feeling above thinking. I think he's savior intuition and savior OE. I do think he's sleep above play. I think he's definitely, obviously, lead consumed based on the saviors. So ultimately, I think we've got a really solid type here for Kermit. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, or if you have any thoughts or comments to give to me, any kind of feedback on Kermit's type, or anything to add to my understanding of his type, I would really appreciate if you would add that in the comments and just leave some feedback for me there. Take care, and I'll see you next time.